Dead Art Studios, Wikiart Deep Dive. We're going to do L.S. Lowry this week. Got my cup of cocoa, got my reading glasses on. So let's head onto the laptop and get started. L.S. Lowry, who was he? He was Laurence Stephen Lowry. And he was born November the 1st, 1887 in Manchester, England, not too far away from where I was born. I was born on the other side of the Pennines. He died February the 23rd, 1976 in Glossop, even closer to where I'm from. And his active years were 1906 to 1976. So he's British. And the art movement that's attributed to him, or his style, is naive art or primitivism, to which I understand to a degree. However, I think that more comes out of the fact that it's very hard to put into any of the art movements around at the time. We have to remember in this early 19th, well, the early 20th century, up to say mid 20th century, when he was sort of most active at that time in like the 30s to the 50s probably. He was had contemporaries like Picasso, Rothko over in America, Pollock, and he was living in the north of England. They were living in Paris and New York, and really his story doesn't fit with the narrative that maybe a lot of art critics and art historians want to tell. So he's apparently most famous for his cityscapes and his portraits, which I think he is. He also did lots of other paintings, and he was apparently influenced by René Magritte, which I understand to some degree, and Balthus, who I don't really know. So I'm going to check him out one day, or her. I'm just guessing as to who Balthus is. Here's a little bit of the Wikipedia article. Now, we're not going to read the whole article because it's massive, and this just gives us an excerpt. So we're just going to get the very first bit of his life here. So he got some awards as he was older, some Royal Academy or Royal Art Academy type things, I believe. Laurence Stephen Lowry was an English artist. Well, yes, many of his drawings and paintings depict Pendlebury, Lancashire, where he lived and worked for more than 40 years. Apparently, he was a debt collector at the start, and also Salford and its surrounding areas. He's famous for painting scenes of life in the industrial districts of northwest England in the mid-20th century, and he developed a distinctive style of painting and is best known for his urban landscapes, people with human figures, often referred to as matchstick men, and that's how I first heard it. And interestingly, at least to me, these are one of the first paintings I saw, because when my mother moved in with my father after they just got married and were about to have me at her tender age of 19, she went to the local Woolworths and brought some prints of Lowry and put them up proudly. Most other people didn't like them, and I think when I was a kid I found them kind of strange and a bit spooky, I think, and maybe even dreary. Something I've changed my view on now, but she had this very interesting idea of what she wanted to show, and it was maybe the rest of the family didn't really like it, but yeah, I was seeing these Lowrys around from birth. He painted mysterious, unpopulated landscapes and brooding portraits, and the unpublished marionette works. Now, they're quite interesting, and I would recommend watching the documentary In Search of Lowry, which I think I'll put a link to in the description. And it's very well worth watching, and it shows these marionette works, which are sort of hidden paintings found after his death that show a sort of almost fetish, let's just say a slight fetish side potentially to him, maybe a slight kink going on in the background, something that he kept very well hidden and buried in his life, but didn't destroy the works, so maybe did want them to be found after his death. Due to his use of stylized figures and a lack of weather effects, it's Manchester, it's always cloudy, isn't it? In many of his landscapes, he is sometimes characterized as naive Sunday painter, although this is not the view of the galleries that are represented retrospectively to his works. That's total nonsense. He was definitely not just a Sunday painter. He worked very hard at his career for a long time, and eventually became extremely successful and wealthy. He was being displayed in galleries in Paris when people in the north of England still didn't know who he was. Of course, if you live in these urban landscapes, then you're unlikely to want to put one on your wall. It's not going to seem very interesting and exotic to you necessarily. There might be something where you see some humour or warmth in it, but maybe to people in Paris this was new and interesting and stylistically different. A large collection of Lowry's work is on permanent public display in the Lowry, a purpose-built art gallery in Salford Keys. It'd be cool to go and visit that one day. He rejected 5 honours during his life, including a knighthood in 1968, and holds the record for the most rejected British honours, which I like as well. There was a major retrospective at Tate Britain. They've got a lot of his work, and they apparently don't often show it because the art critics, they don't seem to be able to get on with him. They're not really sure what to do with him. They're not sure if they like him. Maybe because he's a household popular name, and maybe like my mum at 19 liking his artwork, maybe that doesn't fit in with a slightly highbrow, maybe it doesn't fit in with the art history as well when you want to tie everybody into Picasso and Matisse and from out there. And when we discussed Gustav Klimt the last couple of weeks in Wikiart Deep Dive, I think he suffered a similar issue in that he was out there in Austria, in Vienna, which is probably a little bit more chic than Manchester, but when you're not in these London, New York, and Paris sort of places, you're maybe not going to be written into the tale of art history quite as easily. A solo exhibition outside the UK was held in Nanjing. Interesting. Okay, so he was born in Stretford. It was a difficult birth, and his mother, who had hoped for a girl, his mother was a budding concert pianist. She didn't quite make it. She wanted to be one. She didn't get there, and the father just quietly worked in the background at his job. What was it? As a clerk for the Jacob Earnshaw and Son Property Company. And yes, his mother wanted a girl and wasn't entirely happy with this clumsy boy, as she calls it. And she had a very powerful hold over him, over his life, and it maybe shaped to a very great degree who he was. Lowry once described his father as a cold fish and the sort of man who realised he had a life to live and he did his best to get through it. Sounds very where I'm from to me. After Lowry's birth, his mother's health was too poor for her to continue teaching. She was reported to be a talented and respected pianist with aspirations of becoming a concert pianist, but she was irritable, nervous, and expected high standards. She had this idea that they'd not quite made it in life and that she deserved better. I don't know, when I'm at the school gate, there's some people I meet like that. They never seem to be very cheerful, and they always seem to think that they've not quite managed to be successful, despite them living in one of the most affluent places potentially in the world. She used illness as a means of securing the attention and obedience of her husband and her son. Now, he maintained in interviews, Lowry, that he had an unhappy childhood, growing up in a repressive family atmosphere. Although his mother demonstrated no appreciation of her son's gifts as an artist, a number of books Lowry received as Christmas presents from his parents are inscribed to our dearest Laurie. Laurie, I guess because he was Laurence, yeah. At school, he made few friends and showed no academic aptitude. Now, in the documentary I watched, and they suggested, or one of the people who knew him suggested he may be autistic. Even in that documentary, a lot of other people sort of shunned that immediately and seemed very uncomfortable with it. In the last couple of years, I think everybody's a lot more aware of what autism is, and I think it's fair to say that Lowry definitely had some traits of autism. Whether or not he was on the spectrum, we can't possibly know, can we? Where shall we go? We could continue on and read much more on Wikipedia about his life, but we won't. So these are the highlights as we scroll down of his works. But let's go into all 138 artworks. Let's see how we get on today. I don't know if we're going to do 138, but I'm not going to dwell on every single painting like I did like Gustav Klimt. Right then. So this is early life, and he was told he had no academic aptitude, and but he did have a keen interest in drawing and painting, so that is where he was sort of pushed and helped out by his art teacher and things like that into going into art. So some of these early pictures, 1906, when was he born? 1890. Let's go back and figure it out. When you're trying to do it in one take, moments like this are not helpful. 1887. Set myself up for having to do some maths now. Okay, so 1906, 20s. You do the proper maths if you want. It's far too late for me. I've had a busy day. Right, some apples are still life. Where else would you start? Oil painting, basic colours, nicely painted bag. He was a skilled draftsman. He always practiced drawing right up till he gave up painting, and he then occasionally would do some doodles. When he was in his 80s, he just decided he'd done it all and he wanted to stop. But although his characteristics and signature paintings are very stylistic and some would say naive, he had the skills to do lots of different things in art if he so chose. Nice lighting here, isn't it? And the way that it's composed is also cool. Okay, oranges, lanterns. It's the art school fodder. Portrait of a male model. He may well have been at art school doing these. Like the background with the vertical strokes there, you see that in his later paintings, and maybe we do see here the beginnings of a style for which he becomes known. I love this black jumper here. It's very nice, and these little marks just under his chin there, that's interesting. The eyes are a bit off, but if you look at humans, their eyes generally are off. So already, I think there's Arden's Farms. There's already a sign of him right here. These horizontal strokes, the way the brush drags through, and these dingy colours are almost like it looks like the painting needs to be cleaned. But yeah, some kind of interesting thing here that we don't really know what it is. So maybe the beginnings of a style right there. He's doing more portraiture. He's got these interesting vertical strokes again, and that's his father, the quiet man who melted into the background and did like property and things like that. You know, kept out of the way, and the wife was the centre of the family, the mother, the matriarch. At least that's what we're told. Clifton Junction in the morning. A little bit of a landscape. A bit of a, I think, again, with how he's laying down the strokes, it's not Lowry as we know it yet, is it? The colours, though, I think he chose a very restricted palette and always pretty much stuck to it. And I think that's there in this. Now this is a bit more streamlined and smoothed out. So what we got there? We've got the morning and we've got the evening. I like it. It's very academic. The artist's mother, 1912. There she is. Sat nicely. Not a great deal to say about it. Yeah. This one almost reminds me a little bit of Gustav Klimt last week. Now, one of the things I want to talk a lot about that I didn't hear anybody mention in the documentaries and interviews I've watched with Larry is his use of perspective, and especially two-point perspective, especially as we're dealing with buildings. And he does it amazingly, I think, and uses almost like, you know, when you use a wide-angle lens on a camera and it sort of stretches and mutates everything and makes it all superimposing and things like that. And his position within the painting, like from where you're looking at the horizon, whether you're above or below it, you use these things very carefully and very skillfully. And here, look, we see the beginnings of some perspective heading off into this landscape. Wow, head of a bald man. Boom, that hits you right on, doesn't it? So he's using the techniques that you'll be taught if you try to learn how to paint in a traditional way, of making everything a bit more square and angular to get the features measured and corrected in the right places. The rendering on it is not super smooth. he's using his paint in his what will become characteristic style. These very dark eyes are interesting, aren't they? And this blue down here. And I think this is an interesting painting and shows something where he's going to go. He did a lot of portraits. Here's a boy. Less to say about this. It's vertical. It's very vertical. There is something about Lowry in this, isn't there? It's narrowing and it's thinning a bit. We're heading towards the matchstick men. Well, we've gone all impressionistic now. Loose brush strokes. We've got the perspective again. Country lane. And he painted for many, many years before he became well known. He practiced his art and it took him somewhere. And these are the paintings that got him there. Now, here's the beginnings of something, a pit tragedy. Oh my goodness. A meeting of people, maybe discussing what's happened. So maybe someone's trapped down the mine, or several miners are all trapped in there. You'd have collapses and things like that all the time. I saw the tail end of this type of community when I was a little boy, and it was at the end. It was just when Margaret Thatcher was at the forefront of British politics and closing down the mines, and everything was on its way. It wasn't just Margaret, was it? It was the globalisation and the way that everything internationally became cheaper. But here in these days, we've got these white backgrounds coming in, haven't we, for which is famous. And we've got layers of buildings now. It's more complicated. It's brought the people in. We've got this red here. And the women would always wear these sort of shawls that they sort of cover themselves with. And the guys have got the caps on. And they're discussing something that's happened. So we're seeing people and society coming into his paintings. And it's interesting that a lot of his paintings are about community and society. And maybe if we think about people like Picasso, and definitely he was more about individual models or small groups of people, like maybe prostitutes or something like that. So in a very Picasso-y kind of way, he wasn't really dealing with community and people, and maybe that's another reason why some art historians don't really know what to do with him. Also, if you think about maybe Jackson Pollock and the abstract expressionists, they were thinking about painting in a different way, and they were all contemporaries around at these times. That's one of the most interesting things to think about with painting, is how all these different things are going up in different places of the world. And we're all thinking of them as separate, but in a lot of cases they're happening at the same time. See, now this is very quite nicely painted, isn't it? It shows skill. He's using some of his things that he's learned. He's got this vertical background here with the vertical strokes that he's used. And he's coming along nicely there. And here's the beginnings of his style. Coming in, these loosely painted people. A doctor's waiting room. He's looking around at the people around him and observing. A woman in a chair, 1921. You know, this is not high society, is it, either? I was watching a documentary about the female photographer Lee Miller, and she was sort of at the pinnacle of the sort of Charleston flapper society in the 30s and heading into the Second World War. And it makes you think that that was like the only thing that was going on then. All these crazy avant-garde modelling and Vogue and everything like this. But really, most people were just waiting at the doctor's surgery or sitting in a chair. Now, here we go. So maybe this is like the first bit of what we see as a true Lowry. And he painted lots and lots and lots. And this is not an exhaustive collection of all his work on here. There's loads more. I do know that it's not all on here. But this, so maybe he painted things like this before and they're not on here. But here we go. We've got the horizontal brush strokes. We've got this muted cloudy sky. We've got this long bit of perspective pushing off onto one side. But it is pushing into that sort of vanishing point over there. And then there's slightly, as they like to call it, naively painted fence at the front of the work. And boom, straight into this. Look at this. Got this big space at the front with all the people in a manufacturing town and little hints of red. I always love a little hint of red, don't you? And yes, we've got perspective here. It pushes off back. We've got the town in the background, all the smoke and everything coming out. And it's architectural. Look how nicely his vertical lines and his vanishing points are. So people are saying, oh, he's crude painted. These people aren't crudely painted either, are they? Like, if you look at them, compared to maybe these guys, there's a difference, isn't there? So this is much more detailed. But yeah, we can see the vanishing point coming off down here. And so he's using 2-point perspective as well. So he's using, architectural and artistic techniques to get the effects he wants. Not so much here, but he has got the layering. This is a much more flatter bit of imagery. Self-portrait. Check him out. He's got this nice big hat on and a nice coat with a collar half turned up at the back. Looks like he could head out onto the moors if he needs to and survive for quite some time in a nasty old rainstorm. I don't know what to make. He was said to be not very social and not have many friends, and he's not exuding extroverted personality there, is he? The red's back. Love it. Look at these little highlights over here as well. So going to the mill. These are the people at work. These are the matchstick men. These are the paintings that were on my mum's wall in print forms from Woolworths in the 80s. And yes, it is mucky and dirty, and that's what it was all about, isn't it? And I think that's why as a kid I was maybe off-put by it. I appreciate them much more now I'm older. Street scene, verso. Here we are, the arrest, 1927. Somebody's getting arrested and people are hanging around seeing what's happening. This guy's looking back and saying, what are you doing there? But look, this perspective here, vanishing off into this vanishing point down here, and the tall narrowness of it. So the style coming in this tall and narrow. And Klimt used tall and narrow as well, didn't he? If you remember. It's an interesting way of creating some sense of style and drama in your work. Push up and push narrow. Does anyone ever broaden out? We'll look out for it one day. This guy's getting arrested. These guys are sort of having a look. This one's pretending that she doesn't know what's happening. Beautiful perspective here. Look straight off down into this vanishing point here on this corner. It reminds me of that building in Manhattan. I can't remember the name of it. You know the one I mean. And some people out at play. And the white floor and the white sky, but against this black here. And look, the highlights are quite well done as well. The light source is coming down here. It's not naive to me. It's actually extremely well done. I mean, how is that naive to look at the perspective on this and look at the detail in the building and how well it's placed and how good the verticals are in a fairly loose painting style to achieve that, and it not just look like smushed up is skillful. Peel Park, Salford. 3 people in the centre. These nice little curves coming in. Don't know what else to say about it. Big imposing building here. Kind of purposefully spoiling, I think, this little landscape over here. That's why he's chose to crop it in like that, I think. Girl in a cloche hat. Now, Lowry and women. His mother was his only woman in his life. He speaks of having had a brief encounter with a girl at art college who didn't come back one day. Maybe she graduated, or I don't know, it's not clear. She didn't come back, and he has a lot of portraits that are imagined, and these scenes also are often imagined scenes of things he's seen and put together. This one looks more like it happened, but these people, obviously, this exact moment couldn't be recorded in that way, and he didn't use photography, so he's created them in his mind. And in the same way, he created a lady that he painted many times, often with the red lips here. And in these marionette sketches, the slightly fetishistic sketches that he did that are only sort of in the last, let's say, 20 years been known about, a similar character emerges in it. And he has been a bizarre story of where a teenage girl of a similar, had the same surname, Lowry, was encouraged by her mother to write to him and say, I'm interested in art and I've got the same surname as you. And then he turned up at her door one day and met her and befriended her and acted as a sort of grandpa figure to her and left his entire estate to her when he died. So many red flags in that story now that you just wouldn't, it'd never ever happen, would it? But today, but yeah, and you like to go and watch the ballet and take this lady or young girl, or I don't know the precise details of it, but yeah, he'd take her along and show the ballet, and he was very interested in the control nature of the ladies in the ballet, but also we can't ignore the fact that the ballet is full of young women holding very strong postures, and if you go and Google the marionette drawings, then you'll see that this almost controlling and restricted, hard to breathe sense. In here, we just have somebody staring off into the distance. Stylistic Lowry with the white and the red and the dirty blacky blues. Back to street scenes. He never did marry. He never did have a relationship. People say it was because of his mother. It's a story we all know, isn't it? Yes, what do we say about this? I don't know. Is this school? Kind of reminds me of school. Coming out of school. Look at that. So, some children coming out of school. What's more day-to-day than that? Look at this black building up here, sneaking in. And this one over here. Why are they there? That's very interesting composition, isn't it? You could have left those out and just had these buildings here. It gives you a sense of being further back, pushed back out of the picture, and also maybe watching rather than being in it. Whoa. Now this is one that I would not mind owning. Look at this beautiful black big church in the background here, towering up, and more perspective here, the vanishing point down in the corner there, cleverly done. These beautiful verticals showing us, and then the flares, because it is using the 2-point perspective, it tracks right back down to this here, doesn't it? I mean, is that 1 point? I mean, it could be 1 point perspective, tracking down to there. But then have we got another side of the building? We do, kind of, don't we? Tracking over to this side. It's just like too close and narrow vanishing points. A few people out on the streets. The white floor, the white sky, the black, the red. It's Lowry. More of the same, just outside the front. I think we're supposed to look at the people and see what they're thinking and talking about. And I think myself, I struggle with social situations in some ways. And I'm not drawn to what the people are doing and thinking. I'm drawn to the structure and to the colour and the way it's composed. My mind doesn't say, what are these two talking about? It can if I look. But that's not the first thing I'm thinking about. These guys are just getting on with their business. There's some loitering around right here. Bit more of the same. Bit more flat. Not as much perspective. Tall horse there and a cart. How much times have changed in not that much time? I'm going to have a sip of cocoa. So we're in the park now. And we've got a lot of similar paintings. And that's to be expected. A lot of my paintings are similar. That's how you develop, isn't it? A bandstand. I remember a bandstand at our local park. It wasn't quite as grand as that one. Much more the same, maybe slightly softer and more impressionistic, this one. A little bit of something going off here, and a little bit of the, maybe a real scene there, not so much imagined. Oh, this is like getting marched off to a death camp or something, this one, isn't it? A procession. Blimey, is this supposed to be a happy affair? Because it doesn't look like it. There's a gang of people here watching, and then these people processing down the road, this very strong vertical pole here, and the verticals are all here again. It's all nicely done and put together. This has got a little sort of flag thing coming off the background there. I wonder what they were processing. Something that looks religious to me. Okay, this one's a bit more drawn in style, isn't it? A bit more lines coming from the mill. That horse is on the move. It's causing a bit of trouble. We're supposed to look at all these people. They're hunched over. They're getting on with their business. They're moving forward. They're often moving forward, maybe through time and life as much as going down the road. The dirty factories in the background are actually quite white and not being coloured in. It's interesting. Fading to white again here. Up this beautiful twisting perspective here. Like I say, naive, I don't think so. Up and round. Beautifully done. Little dog. A few people. I love this line work here in painting as well. In paint, yeah. With the highlights on the front. Very nice. Oh, I do like this. This is interesting, isn't it? This lonely building with these. It's like some kind of Halloween scene in America. Little bits of grass. I like painting little bits of things sticking up like this and grass and stuff. And we've got things of varying size. Like this foreground bit. Something that I like to do as well. This little foreground bit here just to push you back one more step. And then there's some steps leading up into some grass. This large empty house. It's a bit spooky. Some broken trees. Are trees really that broken in the north of England? I don't know what's been going on there. It seems like it's been struck by lightning several times. Back to a classic Lowry industrial scene, the organ grinder. Where is the organ grinder? Oh, it's down there, look. So we have to look down through the perspective again, past the reds and the blacks and the whites, and he really is in his stride. And this stuff was popular, and people would buy it, and he was making a good living, and he'd spend his money on pre-Raphaelite paintings and clocks that he hung in his bedroom, and had dinging clocks all over the house, which would have drove me completely mad, because even the Swatch watch that my daughter has, I can hear it ticking in the background right now, and it's irking me. A fight on the street, a fight where it's pulled his hat over his head, a classic manoeuvre, and try it yourself next time you're in a fight, as long as they're wearing some kind of bowler hat. This lady's looking back. They don't seem very bothered by it, do they? It seems to be more of a comedy fight. They're just like, oh, and they've seen it all before, haven't they? And these two little dogs at the front. I think it's a bit of a laugh, if anything. And quite this familiar portrait style here. It's kind of famous for his his portrait work, which we might see some of his close-up portraits from these later periods shortly. So here we are again, the perspective, the church, the houses, it's all there, the formula of a Lowry. See, these ones appeal more to me. I don't know. Some of these, the one with the black church earlier really did get me going, but these ones a bit less so. Maybe because they're more about people, and that's just me and the way my brain works. And the verticals here again, these are like people, aren't they, to me? All these verticals, so many in here, just heading off. And it is perspective, but there's no obvious line, but he uses the relative heights of the vertical lines. Look, this really big one up here, and all the way back. And then again, these two black edged houses coming in to frame it. That one looks like it's buried. See, this is more my cup of tea. The reds, the whites, the blacks, stylistically, oh, the smoke up here. Yet again, I miss out the people, unfortunately. My brain just went straight over here. And I think this is the difference between me and a lot of other people. This is why the critics talk about Lowry's people, and I think about Lowry's perspective and Lowry's use of light and shade and colour. I am getting a sore throat, and it looks like this man's got a sore throat as well. It's the time of year, isn't it, when upper respiratory infections come for you. And this boy in the yellow jacket, he's had a fair few, hasn't he? In fact, his throat's looking a bit black right there. These sunken red eyes are very characteristic of the portraits of Lowry. It's almost a cartoon, isn't it? That's another reason I think the critics aren't on board sometimes. Is it a cartoon? And I think these days we are far more okay with cartoons, manga, and Disney and everything. We know it's an art form in its own right, especially manga. It's cool. It's art. How was this seen back then? It is a bit cartoony, and I mean that respectfully. Nice highlights on the head there, a little like that, and we can see from his drafts and practice drawings that he could do the realism, much like Gustav Klimt could. Oh, I really do like this. This is nice. It's enclosed, encapsulated. We've got the vertical again. And we've got the people standing around, and it's a bit lighter and a bit brighter, isn't it? Laying a foundation stone. And these are the kind of things that go on in communities. In the place I live now, we have all sorts of little. We were twinning with the Kenyan village Masanda last week, and you could have gone to the village hall. I have no idea what happened there. Did they have a live link to Masanda? It would have been interesting to know. Here we are, the Union Jack, some bunting. Is this where the foundation stone is laid? Some people sat around on some very makeshift looking benches, and some are more interested than others. Some school children forced to watch. This lady does not look happy. Is that a policeman there? This one, because it's closer in on the people, that brings me in more. Now, this is more my kind of thing. Look at this. Smooth, undulating, bosomy. A landmark. He travelled a lot around the country. He would take the girl who he was friends with him, which is concerning. Maybe we're just so tainted now that time itself has changed. And we've got is this like, I don't know, I'm thinking Glastonbury tour, but I don't think it is, because that's not how Glastonbury tour is it? But yeah, we've got some nice tonal values, a little bit of a lake, some darks at the front. It's very Lowry, but it's not, because he's in the countryside now. He's back, and he's got the view of a town. It's complicated. There's the depth, there's the leading lines pushing down through these telegraph poles. How has he done that? With his brush? And then layered over the telegraph poles on the back. He said that some of these paintings would take him a year to complete. And working in oils, that's very easy to believe. And this one's great, isn't it? With the fallen bricks and the sort of river and the sewer pipes coming out there, and then up the lane, up this lane, up a steep hill, which you get plenty of in Manchester and the surrounding areas. And the colours again heading off up to the white. Looks like we're back outside the school, but this is a mission room. Some more people just loitering around. Almost the same painting as the school scene. This one's a bit wild, isn't it? We're on a little turn here. What's that called? A hairpin. Yeah, we're on a hairpin. I can imagine the Tour de France coming down around that. So yeah, interesting use of perspective there. In and out around here. Look, a little baby in the pram, and some more verticals and black churches. What is it with the black churches? Very interesting. A coal barge, 1938. So we've got the canals and the reflections beautifully done, isn't it? The way it intersects with this fencing at the front here makes it feel very sort of complicated and interesting. How you see the top of the masts here, but not down here, and then we push off into this. You don't see it at first. This very in-depth urban scene in the background, but your mind's just trying to figure out this foreground bit for a bit, and then you're like, oh yeah, some stuff over there as well. Very nice. Head of a Man. Is this his most famous portrait other than his self-portrait as a young man? I think so. These red sunken eyes. Is he ill, or is he an alcoholic, or is he both? And the scarf matches the eyes, and it follows up into the cheeks and the chin and the lips up to these red eyes. It goes up to look at this, and then the black hair. It's like the lady he drew. She had the red and then the black hair as well. Interesting. Blue eyes. Just looking on it, there's this nice big coat here. Coats were heavy in those days, weren't they? Wow, a bit more impressionistic, almost Monet-like, but instead of some water lilies, we've got a black church structure, St. John's Church in Manchester. We've got the white here in the foreground and in the back, and the black on the sides like we've seen in some of his other paintings, and the red telegraph pole. He's picked his colour palette, he's not shifting on it, he's sticking with it. I respect him for that. And it allows him to show everything he wants to show, doesn't it? 52, after the wedding. Wedding here, just another day-to-day scene. Market scene, Northern Town. More of the same, but the perspective and the twist and the angles, the way the market stalls are all shifted, one on top of the other, and then pushing back. And then what might be like a town hall or something in the background there. Church again, little clock. Heading off up the hill there, into the back. Lots of people. Let's see what they're doing. A couple of dogs. So you always get a couple of dogs. And he must know that dogs sell. They always sell, don't they? People love a dog. Man with a stick. Red jumpers. There we go. Oh, this one's nice. Again, the double crazy perspective, the in and the out on the sort of hairpin, but this time a canal at Accrington. So he's gone out and chosen these positions very carefully. And look at this boat here. This is beautifully painted, and the way it points down there. This barge. And then around. And out this little black one here with a broken bit in. There's a lot of detail in these things as well. Dare I say, like, is there a Where's Wally vibe to this? Is that where Where's Wally came from? The bedroom. Now, a couple of things to say about this. This is after his mother died, and this is the bedroom of his mother, I believe. And the main thing that we're supposed to take note about in this bedroom is that there's nobody in it, and this is where his mother would have laid. Also, it does remind me of the Van Gogh bedroom painting, and we've got the 1 point perspective again, but it's going off in this corner to this door over here, which is quite cleverly done and different. Normally we'd think about, looking straight on almost, and there being a window or something like that. But everything's tracking this way and this way to the vanishing point over here. This is the door. So somebody's left as well, haven't they? And they've left out through that door. they're gone. He apparently considered committing suicide after his mother had died, despite her being particularly unpleasant to him, I think, for much of his life. Or maybe he didn't see it that way. Often if you're controlled and coerced by people, you have a soft affection for them, you can't help it. And actually, a lot of coercion and stuff, people do it thinking they're doing the right thing, and the people who receive it know that it's a very complicated and difficult world to navigate, and something we all know people who have complicated relationships like that. Back off to some perspective. I love this bridge and the way it drops down over there. I mean, who would make a bridge like that? It's practical because it gets the job done. Up and over, up so you can get your boat, and then straight down over there. No messing about. Some more verticals, some more reds, some more blacks, some more whites, bit of yellow. Off into the vanishing point over there. We've got all tracking over that way. Even here, look. Down into the background. And shall I do more sound effects? I did that today when I was out with my daughter at the leisure centre. Some guy thought I was kind of crazy. Yes, like many of the others, but this is stronger than this, isn't it? I think. But you know, he had to do a lot of painting, and he was watching a lot of people. What are we supposed to make from the people here? 3 dogs this time. I just keep going back to the verticals, how well they're done. I think they're great. I don't really see what these people are just hanging about, aren't they? That's what you used to do before you had a phone screen. Just hang around. There's probably not this many people on the street at any given time. I think he's kind of stuffed them in. This one's more interesting, you see. This one, it's got the perspective. It's not as defined to me. This is more defined, and there's a chopped down tree over here. And the black church again, it's all in here. And these trees are always destroyed, like they've been struck by lightning. That's interesting as well, isn't it? Desolate. I think if you've lived in the north of England and been out into the landscape on a winter's day when it's wet and grey, we all know that feeling. Now this is, see, are we back into cartoon land here? Like the portrait, it's hyper stylized. It's got some blues in it, it's got some yellows in it this time. I like this. Slightly caving in roof. It's all by itself. Everything around it seems to be a bit broken. A church in the background there. I used to like going searching out the most broken and derelict things, apparently.